Cookies! Who doesn't love cookies? Well, have you ever heard that it's bad to have a lot of credit cards with zero balance? Have you? Let's talk myth or facts on these common questions. The first thing I want to talk about is the cookie jar analogy, because I started off with cookies, and I am sure all of you love cookies, or at least at some point in your life you did or your kids did. So how did you treat your cookie jar? Every time when you saw the cookie jar and nobody was looking, did you go in and eat all the cookies? Or did you just skim maybe one off the top or 10% off? Well, that's a good question, because the first thing to understand when it comes to that question about credit cards with zero balances is to stay in a good or excellent credit range, only use 10% of the overall line of credit. So let's come back to the cookies. Were you the type of person that ate all the cookies just because nobody was looking? Or were you the one that just took one or maybe a piece of one cookie, 10% of the cookies, so that nobody really knew? This is very applicable when it comes to your credit cards and also your credit score. So a lot of people, they want to minimize the number of credit cards that they have. And they just maximize them. They try to use that one because, hey, you got that credit card, you got that one limit, you don't want any more cards. I think that's backwards. If you really understood what it took to maintain an excellent credit range, you would understand the 10% rule. So let me draw this for you. It all comes down to self-control. 10%. So if you've got a credit card that has a $10,000 balance, you should never, ever exceed 10% of that, which would be $1,000. So if you got a credit card for 10 grand, don't use any more than $1,000. Now, some of you would look at that and you would say, well, there's no way I could do that because I need to use my credit card for more than 1,000. Great. Go out and get another one. You should be taking as many credit cards as they will give you so that you can maintain only 10% usage of each one. And if you exceed that, then make sure you pay it down and keep it at that 10%. If you do that, you will keep an excellent credit range, and it will probably impact you on your credit score. It will make them want to give you more credit because credit card companies look at people and they want to give more credit cards to people that don't need the money, that don't want the money. And how do you demonstrate that to a credit card company? Only use 10%. Remember the cookie jar analogy? How many cookies are you taking out of the cookie jar? All of them? Or do you have self-control where you're just skimming the top and taking roughly 10% of those cookies? Folks, this is really, really important because a lot of people have this backwards. A lot of people, they think, I don't want many credit cards. I only want a few of them. They're going to hurt my credit. Every time I get a new credit card, they ding my credit score. Yes, that's correct. But you know what hurts you even more? Utilization. Because if you're using 90%, 80%, 70% of your credit card every month, that credit card company's looking at you saying, whoa, this person has high utilization. We don't really think they're going to be able to maintain this. They're constantly always using almost the entire balance and only making minimum payments or a little bit more than minimum. Okay? That's one side. That's going to hurt your credit. That's going to hurt your ability to get more credit. And that is you taking all the cookies out of the cookie jar. Let's go to the other side. You got a credit card. Maybe you got 15 credit cards. But each one of those credit cards, you never utilize more than the 10% rule. You never take more than 10% and use any more. Now the credit card company's looking at you saying, this person's got a lot of credit cards, they got a perfect payment history, and they're only utilizing 10%. So they must not need our money. So let's entice them and give them more credit cards. Not only that, let's give them some of those reward cards. So maybe we can get them to start using more of this money. Because if they use more of this money, we can charge them more interest. We can make more money on them. And they don't seem like they need the money, so they're a low risk. So give them another credit card. Give them more rewards. Give them the best of the best. Offer them something. Give them more checks. And each time, folks, stay within this 10% rule. So now that you understand the 10% rule, now that you understand that the facts behind the myth of not having a lot of credit cards and closing credit cards is one of the worst things you can do. When you close a credit card, that hurts you. Keeping credit cards open with small balances or no balances is not really very good. But if you just use it and pay it off and use it and pay it off, that's actually not so bad. So it actually benefits you to have more than one card. It actually benefits you to have as many as you need to maintain this 10% rule. So now that you've got all these credit cards, how do we really utilize these? Now you've heard how the wealthy use credit cards. They don't want debt, and they never have any debt because they understand this. But you know what they do want? They want the free handouts. They want the points. They want the free airlines. They want to be able to use all those points to buy the things they want. For us, we use these like crazy. We have tons of credit cards in business, and we maintain, well, we never have a balance carrying over, and if we do, it's never more than 10%, and because of that, they keep giving us more. We get these crazy offers from credit cards. We have one credit card, for every dollar we spend, we get like 5 points. It's insane. Every month, my director is on there using it to buy paper for the copy machine, using it to buy all sorts of office supplies, using it to pay for my flights to go out to places like where I'm at now in Utah to film videos that you're watching. So you can utilize credit cards and you can use them for your benefit. You've heard this before. The points, the points, the points. Use the rewards, use the rewards. Get the free flights, get the free flights. Get all the benefits. You want the Sky Club? Great, you got to use the credit card. But don't violate the 10% rule, because the second you do that, it starts working backwards, starts working against you. Credit cards are the worst debts you can have. So that's why it's okay to have a lot of them, but using only a small amount of them. It's okay if you have a lot of them, but you just use them for the points and you pay them off every month, giving the credit card companies little to no interest. But what do you get? All the rewards, all the points, all the free flights, all the vacations for your family, and all you did is followed the cookie jar analogy. I'm going to bring you back to that one last time because I want you to start being more honest with yourself. When you were a kid, did you steal the cookie jar? Did you eat all the cookies? How do you do it today? Has anything changed? Have the habits you used when you were a kid for eating all the cookies, is that the same thing today? Are you maxing your credit cards out? Are you only making the minimum payments? Are you wondering why you can't seem to get ahead? Are you wondering why no one wants to give you a car loan, a credit card loan, or anything else? Because you're stealing all the cookies. Now, here's an interesting fact that would go against the myth, too. An interesting fact is there are some people that plain out hate credit cards. They want to be completely out of debt. They don't want any of this stuff. And you know what? Those people, in most cases, have a hard time buying a house, getting a mortgage. They have a hard time getting a car. They might have the best credit score, but nobody wants to issue credit to them because they have no utilization. They have no history. So for those people, I'm sure that's a very small percentage of all of you folks in today's world, but for those of you that don't even use credit cards, I urge you to challenge yourself to start. But follow this rule. Heck, pay it off every month like we do and see how that affects things. See how when you need something big, when something goes wrong, like you need a new furnace, but you just don't have enough money. Because you know what? The 73% of Americans say that money is their number one cause of stress. And you realize that, I can't remember the percentage, I think it's over 90% of Americans don't even have enough money to make it 30 days. So if they lost their job, they don't even have enough in reserves, enough emergency fund to make it 30 days. Heck, I bet you most of them couldn't make it a couple weeks before they'd start having their hand out. How's that in your family? Because I know in my family, when something tragic happens, when one of them can't go to work or doesn't have an income, their hand's out. The rest of the family is then being asked to help them. Oh my gosh, so-and-so had this happen and they haven't been to work. We got to help them. No, they should have helped themselves by getting ahead and saving an emergency fund. The credit card isn't the answer. The credit card could be the worst thing for people like that because they have no self-control, folks. You need self-control for this to work because it's very easy to violate that 10% rule. And if you violate that rule and you go too deep into this, you all of a sudden have a lot more than 10% utilization on a lot of credit cards because for some reason you just couldn't get over the instant gratification. You just felt like, well, I got credit. I've got all this money I can use. I better go spend it all. Whoops. Now how do I pay it down to that 10% level? So along with this rule comes some serious self-control. You have to be diligent with this. You have to know what your limits are, and you have to avoid instant gratification. You have to start delaying gratification. This should be used as a tool, folks, and a tool that is strategically used to benefit, not to lose. So, folks, if you like this video, check this one out right here, Predicting the Future of Real Estate. What's next? That's going to be a good one for you. And you know what? There's a lot to be said in that video that applies back to what we just talked about with the cookie jar. So folks, subscribe to this channel, click that alerts button, and stop eating all the damn cookies.